Uh-huh.
I hate when it says that.
Yeah, the voice is so muted. Fun.
Oh boy.
Kenya, are you nervous?
Nope.
Oh man.
We do this like every day, like the nervousness goes away.
I was going to say, this is like, Friday.
This is just Friday. This is just Friday. This is just Friday. Literally, it's just Friday. So, it's fine. No, not nervous at all.
Yeah.
But this is the second college. The other one this week was just like a podcast. So Baruch today, Wednesday, last Wednesday, 2 days ago was like Boston University. So that was a whole lot of fun. But they're not Baruch. They're not Baruch though. I mean, it still starts with a B, but they're not Baruch.
Go Bearcats. Baruch is the best. We're considered to be the best business school, right, in New York City.
Yeah.
There's Linda. We got to clap Linda up. Linda just got a new internship. Me and her were just talking literally like 10 minutes ago. I'm in touch with all of you guys. That's one thing you don't understand. I'm in touch with all of you. I speak to at least one or two of you a week. So I don't really have to miss y'all because we chat all the time on Slack.
Yeah, Slack is great. Hi, Gurji.
What's up, guys? What's up?
Gurji is a vice president and he's creative director actually for the AMA this semester. So he's doing a lot. I just wanted to introduce you to Kenny.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Kenny. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Every day's the same anyway. We might as well make it Christmas, right? I mean,
yeah, right.
That's the only way to get us to stop from crying.
Exactly. Can't keep up with my dates anymore. Like, I need a scheduler now, so I started to put up a schedule because I just don't know what day it is during the week. So weird.
Kenny, I'm looking forward to see what are you gonna come with for next summer. I'm really wondering.
Yes.
I mean, we're gonna continue with the growth initiative. That's news alert. But yeah, we're coming back with the growth initiative, stronger and even better next year. But I mean, the only reason why it was so good is because people like Olga, Linda, and the rest of the Baruch team. I mean, Baruch was like 25% of the program. Baruch represented hard.
Yeah,
even some of the moderators were Baruch graduates. I think we had two. We had Aaron and Devon, and then Gary taught at Baruch. So and Al. So yeah, I mean, Baruch was like more like 50% of the growth initiative. Baruch was deep. We might just want to name it the Baruch Initiative because, of course, I need to get paid for that. But I'll need a check for that if we change it to that. But yeah, Baruch was at least close to like 40% of the group. We had a lot of Baruch people, and we were very happy to have a lot of Baruch people, especially since Baruch came with me from where I was before to where I am now. But I told you all, where I go, you go. I made that promise. Remember that, Ingrid?
Yep, you say that every time we meet. And thank you so much.
So wherever I go, you go. So
and here you go.
That was last year, a year ago. Remember, I left that agency a year ago. And I was like, hey, I'm leaving. Don't worry. Where I go, Baruch goes.
Yeah, and like a month or two later, you were back on. Yes.
The lights don't turn off for too long. I just need to,
We love that. Just
get
like
a new light bulb.
Royal spirit.
We were guinea pigs, you know. But excited to, I'm actually excited to become, you know, a part of behind the scenes, maybe. Do something.
Oh, are we going to use you behind the scenes? Believe you me. We got some stuff coming.
I think
Hearing that.
it would be exciting. It was a great program. I think we can start, right?
All right. Get it.
And I will just introduce you.
Okay.
So welcome, Keni. Thank you so much for joining today and becoming our speaker. So we have in this event today with the support of the STAR Career Development Center from Baruch and also Black Student Union at Baruch College. Very excited to talk about diversity and inclusion in the advertising industry. And Keni is our speaker today. He is a pioneer of change and is committed to expanding diversity efforts, and the impact he has made of future leaders does not go unnoticed. So a true example of leadership, Keni is an award-winning influence and a diversity advocate devoted to outreach programs and mentorship. And he launched their first mentorship program on February 8th, 2017, which was named the Young Commanders Program, and J.W. Thompson, now it's Wonderman Thompson. It's a diversity initiative that provides college and high school advertising students with an opportunity to apply what they are learning in the classroom to real life advertising and businesses. Also, Keni, in 2017, he was named as one of the 4A's 100 people that make advertising great. And Me Magazine featured him as one of the champions of inclusion, while also receiving a citation from the city of New York, Borough of Brooklyn, for a long record of diversity, inclusion, and mentoring efforts in advertising in 2019. He's also the founder of amazing 100 Roses from Concrete. It's a network for men of color in advertising and the marketing, media, and public relations. Through the Roses, he recently created the Growth Initiative. I actually was part of it, and it was just great. That is a virtual agency program for multicultural college students who may have lost their internship due to the coronavirus pandemic. And we're very happy to have you today, Keni. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah. So, welcome. Thank you so much for that very warm welcome, and for even having me here with you all today as a part of this like speaker series that you all are putting through and everything. I'm more than glad to answer like any questions that you have about just like what I do and why diversity and inclusion is so important in the advertising field. Literally, this has been my life for the last about 9 years. And it hasn't been always easy, for sure. It's definitely had its bumps and bruises along the way. But one thing that that's always kind of got me through is that this is bigger than me. So it was never ever about me in the first place. This was always bigger than me. So when you think about our communities of under marginalized people, right? When you think about Black and brown people of color, people from other countries and things of that nature, to get into this business is like, sometimes you have to be like a 3-letter athlete, right? You have to be good in basketball, you have to be good in baseball, you have to be good in tennis. But even with that, it still makes it very hard to get past the gatekeepers, right? Because the gatekeepers just have natural biases, regardless if English is your first language, or it's even your second language, or even your third language. I mean, I know members of my organizations, like my brother Jad, who's actually the program manager of the Growth Initiative. Jad speaks more languages than I can count. So he always gets me when he pronounces foreign names that I slaughter every single time, and I have to beg for forgiveness from my brothers and sisters from other countries. But even with speaking that many languages, you would think that would make him an asset, right? So this is the example I'm using Jad. Like, you would think that speaking that many languages would make him an asset, but it actually doesn't sometimes, because the bubble that the advertising industry lives in is so compact that anything that's other and anything that's different is a problem, or they just don't understand it, period. So one thing that I do in as far as my career goes, I definitely deal with organizations big and small, advertising agencies big and small, to kind of let them know that, you know what, someone knowing five languages is actually going to triple your P&L 5 times. So by really embracing the different, I think is one of the great things that we can bring to agencies, especially as you all being like the next generation that's coming through. You all have just so much to offer that being other should be viewed as an asset, not as a deterrent to bring that person into the workforce. Because when you really think about it, what can you really gain from a room of everyone that thinks the same and looks the same and has been afforded the same privileges, right? Because as a man, just speaking to all the gents that are on the phone or on the call, there's one thing that us men don't really have to. There's certain places where we as men can feel comfortable when women don't feel comfortable, right? And in those spaces, we have to understand that we have a privilege, and we need to look and we need to use our position of privilege as something to change the industry and make sure that women are not uncomfortable in those situations, that women are given the opportunity to talk, but not just talk, but to be listened, to be heard, but also be respected at the same goddamn time. You think that that's easy, but it's actually not. That's the sad part about it all. You would think that it's easy, but it's actually not. So regardless, or if you're a straight man, you're a gay man, you're a black man, you're a Latinx man, Asian man, whatever kind of man you are, definitely remember that you have a privilege. And within that privilege, you need to kind of be like, you know what? Let me really think on how am I leading this, whether it's this project, whether it's this group, how am I doing it in a way that everyone feels totally represented? How does everyone feel totally embraced? How is everyone being totally educated? How is everyone being totally engaged? How am I leading this group that everyone is evolving with me at the same time? When you really think about those E's that I just mentioned, those are so very important in anything that you're doing. And anything that you're doing, you need to kind of run it through that lens of, am I engaging? Am I educating? Am I embracing? Right? Because when you do all that, then things just come out better. One of my family members I have on the call here, besides the growth initiative, I have, you know, my little niece Gabs on the line, and she goes back with me like a year ago to a program that I did before. But she remembers, even though we were way smaller than the growth initiative, we were a family at the end of the day. We may have been strangers at first, but we became a family. And so we were not like 55, like Olga and Linda's crew, right? We weren't 55 students, but we were 15, and we were 15 that were very strong, very engaged, respected each other at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. And, you know, every time we saw each other, we hugged each other, because that's so very important. And the reason why I always talk about the hugs and I bring it up is because sometimes you don't understand how a hug can change someone's day. Because we just don't know what the fuck is going on with someone sometimes, right? So you could be having a great day, a hug makes your day even better. You could be having a bad day, and a hug makes your day even better when you really think about it, right? So let me rewind this back a little bit more into the advertising industry and how diversity has been a problem for so very long. Yeah. The problem has been, over the last damn near close to 100 years, is that advertising has always viewed the consumer power of people of color to be less valuable than white people at the end of the day. That's what's kind of led us to this big wave in problems when you think about racial injustice in the United States and all that other stuff. There has literally been research that has been done for like a span of years and years and years, trying to prove to our white counterparts how valuable the black dollar is, how valuable the Latinx dollar is, how valuable the Asian dollar is, how valuable the woman dollar is. Like literally studies upon studies upon studies upon studies upon studies, like, hey, you need to talk to this demographic the right way, because if you don't, they will leave you. There was even a protest way back, I think in the late 30s or close to the early 40s, where Black people were like, you know what, this is how we're going to protest. It was called Don't Shop Where You Can't Work. Think about that. Don't shop where you can't work. So basically they're like, you know, if I can't work, you know, for Colgate, if I can't work for Johnson & Johnson, then why buy their stuff? Now, what if we had that mentality in 2020, right? Like, we could literally collapse brands, literally, in days. If we were like, you know what, this brand, you know, works with DDB, or this works with TWA, all these different, you know, acronyms for agencies. If we found out which one of those brands work with whatever agency, and we're like, you know what, we're going to stop buying that. We're going to stop buying Nikes. We're going to stop buying, you know, Apple products, Microsoft, Doritos, you know, the delicious shit. We're just going to stop it because those agencies that are making those ads won't hire people that look like me, or look like my friends, or look like my cousins, or look like my relatives. If we were to do that for a week straight, just think about how many brands would collapse, honestly. Now, with that said, brands and agencies are trying to do their best, right? They're trying to do their best right now, but it's come to a point where it's been very opportunistic, in my view. But that's just my opinion. What do I know, right? And if you've read my article that I put out this summer, I put out an article called "Advertising You're Late." A lot of people have read it. Well, some people have read it, about, I don't know how many people, maybe 5 people, just me, Olga, and my mom. But in the article, I talk about how the advertising industry per se is very late to this party, right? Because black and brown bodies being murdered by the police unarmed is something that has been happening for centuries. The over-policing of our communities has been happening for centuries. However, when the unfortunate events of, you know, Breonna Taylor and George Floyd happened, then all of a sudden, like, the country woke up. And every brand and every agency was all like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But, you know, especially to my members of my organization, 100 Roses from Concrete, like, we were like, what the hell? We've been telling you all we matter. We've been telling you all we matter. So the way these agencies and organizations are kind of like now coming to the forefront saying that Black Lives Matter, it's like, let me make this example for you who haven't read the article. It's basically like someone showing up to the party 3 hours late with horrible snacks and cheap booze. That's what it's like. That's what it's like. But they come so late that they want to be treated special. No. You don't get that platform. You don't get that. You are literally late because these agencies and these big brands weren't screaming at least not all of them, but these agencies and big brands weren't screaming Black Lives Matter when Trayvon Martin was murdered, when Tamir Price was murdered, when Sandra Bland died in police custody. None of them were saying absolutely anything, right? None of them were saying anything. They're just like, another tragedy. Oh my God, it's so sad. Da, 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 da. None of them were even really speaking that loud at the beginning of a coronavirus when our Asian brothers and sisters were being harassed in the streets and everywhere, right? Nobody's saying nothing. Nobody's saying nothing. Everyone's just like, oh, coronavirus hit, gotta get inside. But, you know, when they see these really bad videos and things like that happening in the streets to our Asian brothers and sisters, nobody was saying anything. No one was saying like, oh, we need to diversify our offices better, et cetera, et cetera. None of that happened. So that's why I titled the article, Advertising You're Late, because they are late. And I'm not giving them a pass personally, because that's just how I feel. You can't give them a pass for showing up beyond late, and now you want to kind of turn that corner for everything to be better. Because the thing is, it's not going to happen that fast. We have to be realistic, right? We have to be realistic to say, like, you know what? All these injustices to Black and brown people of color, all these injustices to women, it's not like turning on the lights on and off. This is something literally, my friends, that's going to take years. And when I say, and I don't mean like 5 years, and I don't mean like 10 years. I mean like it's gonna outlive me. And I mean, you know, Jad's gonna be like, nigga, you're not that old, but like it's gonna literally outlive me because turning this corner isn't like being in like this really like sexy Miami, you know, kind of speedboat, right? This is like trying to turn like one of those big ocean liners that take literally 30 to 40 minutes just to go the right direction. So this is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of commitment. It's going to take a lot of accountability. It's going to be holding a lot of people to the fire. And yes, there's some people that need to lose their jobs. Straight up. The people that hold these very sexist, racist, xenophobic, and all the other phobias, whoever holds these systems in place, they have to go. Simple and plain. The people who are on the leadership board or CEOs or whatever the case may be that let all these things happen over the last billion years, that have gotten extremely wealthy off of these very rigged systems, they got to go. Period. They got to go. We need fresh faces, fresh minds, bright minds like all of you to kind of come in and take the reins. We need people that understand the benefits and the benefits that come with diversity. So these are like pretty much like 5 things that I always say that come with diversity, right? So 1, people are more positive, right, in the office, right? They're more positive. And when you have more positive people, they're more productive. And when they're more productive, what do? They're more innovative. They're more creative. But then last but not least, it makes better work. So it becomes more profitable, right? So when I talk about diversity to these different organizations that, hire me to come talk to them and kind of coach them to be better at it, I'm like, your diversity problem is a business problem. So to all of you like marketing majors or maybe like MBAs, maybe even MBA students, diversity is a business problem because people drive the business. The business doesn't drive the people. Do you understand? So until they realize the power in the people, then their business can flourish even more. The statistics are there. The statistics have been going on, like I said before, for years upon years upon years, right? 38% of businesses that have diverse teams with people of color and women just do better. They do better than all the other organizations. So when you really think about it, diversity is also a money thing because it makes the money better. And then we kind of spread the wealth around. That's how it's supposed to work, right? That's how it's supposed to work. But unfortunately, this industry in particular, and like many other industries, tech, some parts of government, you could name it. They're all suffering from these problems. But now all of a sudden, they want to make it better. But the thing is, how can you make it better when you literally have held down this demographic of people for the longest time? So now the big thing with a lot of these organizations is like, oh, we want to have more women leaders, and we want to have more women of color leaders, and we want to just have more leaders of color, period, and all that. But how are you going to find these leaders if there's a disproportionate way of developing them, promoting them, and hiring them? You can't have it both ways. And that's the problem that I'm having a lot with a lot of these different organizations, or I'm seeing with a lot of these different organizations, is that, oh, we really need talented leaders of color, but you think it can just happen overnight. You just think they're just going to pop up out of anywhere, like, we're here. But if we've been marginalized and underdeveloped and underappreciated, then like, how does it even work? One thing that I was talking about yesterday, during an interview, some podcast in like Spain or something like that, and I was telling the interviewer, I was like, one thing that a lot of employers don't even understand as far as the journey of talent of color is the mental health aspect, and how a lot of agency people suffer from imposter syndrome because we constantly feel like we're not good enough, right? Regardless of what we do. We feel like we're not good enough. So instead of calling it imposter syndrome, I always called it the state of un. So what does un mean, right? So it means the state of being misunderstood, the state of being the state of being undervalued, the state of being underpaid, the state of being literally just on everything, right? On everything that's possibly positive, right? Just constantly being in that state and then suffering from imposter syndrome and then constantly working harder than most people just to kind of prove yourself to a system that will never really approve of you anyway. It totally sucks. It totally sucks. I know agencies that have passed up on people that are absolute rock stars in this industry, but it only took one person to be like, you know what? That person's a rock star. And Now, you know, they're everywhere. They're doing great stuff. They're making great work, you know, Super Bowl commercials, you name it, whatever. But the thing is, how many no's does talent of color have to get before they even get their big break? It's absolutely insane. And especially women. I've been a judge for the Next Creative Leaders competition, sponsored by the One Club and the 3% Conference, and I'm looking all over all of these entries by these very talented creative women, and it's just in some of their stories you hear how they had to fight to get like a promotion after being denied like a billion times. So it's a very tricky, interesting industry to be in. I mean, granted, you know, don't take this, oh, Keni hates advertising. No, actually, I love advertising. That's why, you know, I created the Growth Initiative. That's why I created Young Commodores. I mean, it's great to be able to go up against the grain of what the industry is about and make it better. So this is definitely not a conversation of me being like an advertising hater or whatever the case may be. It's far from it. But the one thing that you can definitely see from my portfolio is that everything that I've been able to produce comes from a place of truth and a place of peace and a place of love and a place of love for everyone. So that's something that I've been able to kind of inject into the young people that I work with, you know, regardless if it's the Young Commodores crew that we ran for like 3 years, or it's the Growth Initiative in which we graduated 55 young people from around the country in the middle of a pandemic. I'm just going to leave it there. Let's take some questions. Let's take some questions.
Thank you so much, Keni. Well, I'm feeling very inspired, as always. I mean, does anyone has any questions? It's a good time to ask. Go ahead. Keni worked in agency world as well, so he's a great resource. So don't be shy. That's the point of it. We're making these conversations for you guys.
I think I'll ask one question. So you talked about how this isn't going to take, you know, a couple days to change. This is going to take years of effort, and there's going to be a lot of time put into that. So how do you suggest that, like, when we go into the setting of these new agencies and, you know, the workforce in general, how do we, certain times when we feel that we are being, you know, victimized because of racism or someone's being sexist, how do we approach that person? How do we approach that situation in a positive way?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an absolute great question. So the way to do that is first you find your tribe, right? It's always good, and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's extremely hard to find your tribe once you get to once you get the job and then you get there, but then like. So it's one thing like when you interview at the place and then you're kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't look like me. But then when you start the job, you're like, whoa, there's a lot of people that don't look like me here. It could be a little bit of a culture shock. But one thing I can say is that once you do start, like, definitely feel your way out with your team, and then but also, you know, if there are opportunities to kind of network with other people within the office, like definitely try to find your tribe that way. And then when you do have a situation like that, kind of circumvent the system. So it's never my advice to go to HR, but this is not an HR bashing call. But I would say first find your tribe, and then try to find out information on that person, right? Like, are they always a racist asshole? Excuse my language. Find out that information first, and then, or find out like maybe that person is going through something, whatever the case may be, but that still doesn't give them an excuse to be an a-hole, right? So definitely try to do your due diligence, like behind the scenes. And then once it happens, if you feel like maybe that if you do find out that that person was going through something, whatever the case may be, maybe when that like settles down, like kind of get them one-on-one and say, hey, like, you know, I was really feeling a little bit microaggressed in the meeting we had 2 weeks ago. I felt like you were talking down to me. You weren't talking to me. I'm coming to you as a man, whether it's you having this conversation with a man or a woman. I'm just coming to you as an adult. Like, I want to kind of break down how this made me feel. I think by doing that, at least you've like laid it on the table. And now if they come back to you, if they come back at you like, then be like, okay, well, I made my point and I'm just putting you on notice that I've discussed this with you. And if this behavior continues, then, you know, you might have to take it like the other route, which is, you know, of course, having conversations with human resources, they document all that stuff. And then I don't know what the ramifications would be for that person. I wouldn't necessarily put all my eggs in the human resources bucket. That's just advice from me, but that's definitely just advice from me, because sometimes the human resources part can get hairy, and sometimes you're like, okay, that didn't really help at all. So if you feel like, so let's say you've tried 3 different ways of doing it and you're still like having the same situation, it may be time for you to find a new home, right? It just maybe time for you to find a new job. And that takes someone, and that part, just knowing like when it's time for you to go is something that is just a quality that sometimes some of us don't have. Some of us will suffer for years. And then we're like, you know what? All right, now it's time for me to go. But it's really up to you in regards to your career and how long you've been there and the different skills that you have that you know, like, you know what, if I was to start my job search now, I could have a new job in 3 months. Or if I start my job search now, maybe there's a couple more things I need to learn, then I know I can really start seriously looking at it in like 6 months. So I always say this, especially to the gifts, I say it all the time. It's about taking calculated risks when it comes to whether it's inter-office like squabbles or even when you're thinking about making that next move. But definitely take calculated risks. Do not like just jump out of the plane with no parachute. Unless you're that pissed off, then do it. Sometimes you'll land in water. You might be okay. And hopefully you can swim.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great question.
Thank you, Kenny. We have a question from Isabella first, and then we'll move to others. So Isabella asked whether can you speak of personal experiences? Was there anything you did to speak against it? So did you have this?
Yeah. Well, what I did, at least personal experience, this is rough to talk about, so I don't know how deep I'm going to get into it. But I mean, I definitely started by going to human resources. So I guess to answer like a little bit of part of the last questions, that I did go to human resources, and I felt like after going so many times, it was absolutely worthless. So instead, what I did, Jamie knows. Jamie's like, yeah, I remember that HR department. They suck. But I remember definitely after like failed attempts at the right way, then I just started documenting everything. I started documenting like everything bad that possibly happened to me. And I kept a log of it, but I kept a log of the times that I met with human resources as well. So I had a very long document per se that I still have. And it's just like, kind of like, it's not even it's not even like a get out of free jail card. It's more put somebody in jail if they ever were to try to cross me, even in my post that agency life. Like I have it, my sister Kai Lawson says, you got to keep receipts. You got to keep receipts, right? So I have a ton of receipts, to say the least. And what happened in my situation was, when I did leave that agency, not too long after my sister Jamie left the agency, in my exit interview, I presented my receipts, but I didn't show them. I had them in a folder. It was very gangster. I had them in a folder, and I said,
I did the same thing. When
Yep.
I didn't leave on the same terms that you left.
Mm-hmm.
I was helped out because, in advertising you have layoffs, and that's kind of what happens. However, when I did leave, I had my little folder of let me tell you all about yourselves before I go.
Yep. So if anything, my experience is, and my answer to that question in a short form is that keep your receipts and have your receipts, because that is something, if someone ever tried to like flip it and make it like you were the problem, that's far from the case. And in my receipts, I mean, I had names, I had dates. So it was very, very meticulous, to say the least. And even screenshots of this bad behavior or someone talking foul to me or whatever the case may be, I have all of that in my receipts. So definitely make sure your receipts are extremely detailed, down to the day. And even like if you want to screenshot, even if it's something like that has to do with your calendar, because I had situations where I wanted to take vacation, but then the team favorite would take a vacation the same time I would, so I couldn't take vacation because someone needed to be in the office. Like there was just some mess, to say the least. But yeah, keep your receipts and
That's crazy.
keep them in, a locked folder, whether it's on your laptop. I mean, before I left, I printed out my receipts and I had them in a folder during my exit interview, because I was like, I'm not going to open this, but I can tell you what every page says for the last like 3 years. So keep a very detailed receipts. So that's my experience and that's my advice. Keep those receipts, keep them detailed. Even if you don't feel like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. Yes, it was a big of a deal, because if you have a surmountable amount of receipts, it'll show that, yeah, that person never learned their lesson, especially if you spoke to them the first time about them being like not a good person or not respecting your work or talking down to you when, or not being respectful, period, regardless of what your gender or background is. Like that's a big thing. There's a lot of microaggressive behavior, I would say, in the advertising industry that a lot of people sometimes acknowledge, but there's a lot of times people don't acknowledge it as well, because they feel like, oh, it's such a casual atmosphere, so it's okay. And it's never okay for someone to come at you, because the thing is, when you think about the word microaggression, right, it's microaggressive behavior, but it has macro effects on your work, right? Because then you're constantly like either avoiding like even any type of interaction with that person, or when you do have an interaction with that person, you're not really like, you're just like waiting for them to do something foul, and then you're like kind of wasting your time, because you're like, ugh, I got another meeting with John. Oh Lord, he's so sexist, or he's gonna say something about, aren't you gonna vote for Hillary, instead of whatever the case may be. I mean, I've heard that in meetings. Like I've literally like walked into meetings like 4 years ago, and someone said to a woman in the room, like, aren't you, well, I know you're going to vote for Hillary, I know you're not going to vote for a man, whatever the case may be. But it's like, that's none of your business. And why do you care so much? But people, people say some really crazy, wild stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Crazy. Next question is from Luisa. Luisa, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Kenny. Thank you so much for
Hi, how are you?
The AMA. And for all of the tips that you're giving us. I feel like that is so important to keep that folder.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the imposter syndrome. How do you suggest we try to overcome this condition? Because I have definitely felt this way in past internships and jobs.
Yeah. So imposter syndrome sucks. And I mean, I'm a living example of someone that used to suffer from it, per se. But I think the reason why is that we give too much power to people that think we need their validation. You don't, at the end of the day. As a creative person, as a strategic person, as a writer, as a producer, or whatever the case may be, like really, like your art is your art, and all art starts from chaos. And then it turns into something beautiful, right? When Picasso was thinking about whatever he painted, because I'm not a super art major, so I don't know all that shit, but like he had just a bunch of paint and like a vision in his mind. And I'm sure there are people that probably hated on it, some of the stuff that he did, right? Even when you think about like Banksy, right? People probably like, when he probably first started out, people were like, what the hell is like is that a bomb with flowers in it? Like, what is that? So it's always very important to have your only competition be that person in the mirror. That's it. That's your only competition at the end of the day. Don't worry about don't measure your success by anyone else's success, because you'll spend your whole life doing that. And that's just a waste of time. And there's so many other positive things that you could be doing. at the end of the day. So yes, I do understand that imposter syndrome is a big thing, but you have to understand that what you make, whether it's for your professors or for your family or for whoever, as long as you give it your very best shot and you put your heart and soul into it, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. So that's how you do it. But yeah, like your only competition is that person in the mirror. So yeah, like, you know, was I nervous as hell before I started the growth initiative? Because I was like, man, well, when we started it, and Jad's not, I don't know where Jad is. He's somewhere here. But I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to apply to this program, to be totally honest with you. I just did not know that anyone was going to apply. I was like, you know, people don't really care who Keni Thacker is. Why are they going to apply to some program they don't know about? We're not attached to some advertising agency. No one's going to care. But as soon as we closed those applications, I mean, we had like 130 applications in a month. In a month, we didn't have the applications open for like 2 months or 3 months, whatever the case may be. We had them open exactly for 30 days or 31 days, more like 30 days. And, you know, we had all these applicants, but me being nervous about if anyone would even apply, I was still like kind of holding on to a little bit of that imposter syndrome, thinking like, well, geez, like no one's really gonna care about what we're doing and how we're going to bring it to them and all the levels, even though I had all the support, definitely from Ingrid, Ricky, and Ann and all the other schools that I'm affiliated with. I still had that little bit in my mind, like, I don't know. But I remember when I presented the idea to Ingrid, Ricky, and Ann, they're like, Keni, you're going to be able to pull this off. You pulled a million other things in your career already. But, and before the call started, I don't know if you heard, but I told Ingrid, Ann and Ricky that, especially when I left my last agency, that don't worry about me leaving my last agency, because wherever I go, I'm definitely going to bring Baruch with me. And I've tried to do that throughout all the stuff that I've done over the last just like 3 years per se. So like, you know, and I didn't even go to Baruch. So, you know, I can't, you know, claim like Bearcat bred and born and nothing like that. But I definitely remember my first visit to Baruch. That was 2018. They invited me to like be on some panel, and I was the only non-Baruch person on that panel. But I was also like, I don't care if I didn't go to Baruch. I'm gonna blaze this panel down. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm working on my, you know, my honorary degree from Baruch. We're gonna try to get that in 2021.
Yay! Thank you so much, Keni. That's amazing. We have a couple more questions, so let's go. Joshua, would you like to speak up and represent? He's from Black Student Union, actually. He's a marketing director. Yep.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah. So, like, my question is like the marketing of like the Black Lives Matter movement. I feel like it has like done more bad than like good, because I feel like it just has become like a tool for brands to use to like make it seem like they're woke or something. It's not like it's creating any change. Like I want like I personally don't care to see Black Lives Matter on like a jersey or on the street, because I already know that. I don't need to see that, you know? Like I feel like companies should focus on, you know, hiring more Black people or donating some money to Black schools or something. Like something that's gonna really enact change. Just posting Black Lives Matter, that really does not do anything for, you know, Black people at all. Like I want to see like policies change, some reforms in companies, not just Black Lives Matter. It's like they've been using it just to seem like they're woke, and when they're really not.
Yeah,
it's become an easy tool for them, because if them doing that, they don't really lose much from that.
Well, the one thing, having worked on a Black Lives Matter project way before George Floyd, literally like 3 years ago, one thing about the Black Lives Matter movement, which I totally love, but it's an incredibly unmanageable brand, right? Because like anybody can say it. They don't have like certain templates in which you have to say certain things or where you can say it or et cetera, et cetera. It's just kind of the brand is a free for all when you really think about it. It's an absolute free for all. So anyone can say it, anyone can use it. Do we hope that everyone that says it and uses it has good intentions? We can only hope. We can only hope. But when you look at any type of like major type of branding, like I personally really enjoyed the branding from the Black Panthers, not the movie, the civil rights organization, right? Rest in peace, Chadwick. But if you really think about like the Black Panther movement, they had certain platforms and pillars that they lived by, right? So, and that's how they had chapters and things of that nature, like all across the country. They gave food to people that were hungry and things of that nature. They protected people. That's where kind of the government was like very worried because they were protecting people with guns just like anyone else would if they had guns, whatever the case may be. But it was Black people with guns, so that makes people nervous. I don't know why. But white people can have guns all the time. Stereotypical. It's an irony. So the one thing that I think that the Black Lives Matter suffers, or the Achilles heel to it, is that it's just an unmanageable brand because like it's so easy for anybody to kind of take it upon their own and just like scream out Black Lives Matter, and even like these corporate entities to scream it out as well. But then it's like I appreciate brands saying, well, Black Lives Matter and everything like that, but how much do they matter that you are going to do exactly what you said? How are you going to change your systems, right? So don't come off with these like thousands and millions of dollars for BLM if you're not going to change your house, right? Don't scream that, chef lives matter, but the food in your kitchen sucks. Like, don't do it. It's just an absolute waste of time. So, it's very interesting seeing where these brands and these organizations are going now. But like, I want us to have this conversation, Joshua, next summer and say, so where are we at? Everyone was caring about Black lives left and right. So where are we at in the summer of 2000 or the end of the summer of 2021? Like how much progress has actually been made? Like I'm not asking for a million things to change because I know that's not going to happen because this is literally centuries of horrible things that have been happening. But what's so different from the summer of 2021 in comparison to the summer of 2020? So that's the answers that I want, to be totally honest with you. We got another one, Olga?
We do. We have a lot of questions, I think.
Okay.
Next, we have Jad. Jad, go ahead. He's been waiting in line.
That's hard to keep Jad patient.
Nah, it's cool. I had to do an outfit change. As you can see, it's your favorite headphones, Kenny.
Can I just say something real quick? So Jad also part of a growth initiative program, and he one of the organizers, so they work together with Keni. And we also have Jad next Tuesday to talk about the multicultural communication. So that's it. I'm leaving up there.
Thank you, Olga. And I just must say that like I'm really, really, really very impressed and very proud of you personally with what you're doing and how you're progressing after seeing your growth in the program. So I really want everyone to give a shout out and like an applause for Olga because she is just a pure example of an immigrant who comes into the US, takes everything in, learns and adapts and integrates with the real history of America and corporate America in particular. So I'm really, really impressed and I really encourage you to just pass on this knowledge and this experience that you do with the people around you. So great job and kudos to you, for real. Kenny, and it's been a while since I've heard your voice, so this is like the first time we had a Zoom call for like the past month, maybe, or the past 3 weeks, and I'm used to you every week, so I really wanna, I kind of like wanna ask you for your experience, actually for me as well, because I believe I will learn a lot from you regarding that, but also for everybody else. How do you approach performative alliance or performative allyship from white colleagues or white American colleagues or executives or superiors who clearly don't care about, you know, other cultures, only like their own and like only the work and everything. And they just say BLM, Black Lives Matter, or like, oh, I understand it's hard for you. Okay, so we need this deadline today. So how do we approach that? Like, how do we, I know it's, we don't have a responsibility as black and brown people to educate people, but we do live, we do work from 9 to 5 in these corporations, and we do face the same kind of performative show off persona, scripted persona that white Americans follow across the board. And sometimes we need, you know, our ideas to get through and everything, and we feel like this barrier that they don't want to learn from us, so they just perform as they are. How do we deal with that? How do we educate them? What is the best approach for that? Especially for young black and brown, you know, executives who are getting into the industry and they're like, I don't know what to say. Like, you know, like how do we get my point through without seeming too alien to them? Like, how do we come to common grounds with that, knowing that they're not going to change so much and we have to adapt and code switch and mold into their environment while they will do maybe like 0.5%. So that situation, maybe share your experience regarding that and how do we approach it?
Well, the first thing that we have to let them know is how important our mental health is, right? Because as people of color, we kind of live in trauma, right? We can't turn a corner without something bad happening most of the time, especially if you're a black woman. So we could start there, but I'm just gonna say that the one thing that we have to start with is try to make them understand that how important employee morale is. And when employee morale is low, so is the work. The work suffers at the end of the day. So it's very important for them to understand that if morale is low, creativity is low, innovation is low, and God forbid you're working on new business, you're not going to win any new business because your heart is not going to be in it. And in this climate, in this very climate right now, employers need to be doing their very best to be embracing employees of color. Why? Because if they don't, other agencies will. Other agencies will. And you can literally name your price on how much you want to get paid, because there are some agencies that are going to be intentional in developing, promoting, and hiring talent of color. So if you feel that your place isn't, keep it moving, because there's going to be a place that is going to be intentional about it. I mean, there's literally like hundreds and thousands or thousands and thousands of agencies out there. And yes, are there ones out there that will not understand your struggle? They won't understand your journey. They won't understand your accent. Yeah. And will they use that as a negative towards you? Yes, they will. And that's just me being 100% honest. But what you need to do is, whatever those negatives are, you have to figure out ways to flip them into positives and show that your value is way beyond their lowest expectation, but way even higher than their highest expectation, and you are a valuable contributor to that organization. But if they don't understand the value of morale, to be totally honest with you, Jad, and you are my brother, they will lose at the end of the day. So I mean, they want to be losers. Everybody needs a job. So I guess it's a job for losers too. But like, everyone needs a job. So if they want to be over there, that's their choice. But they have to understand how critical, especially in these times, how your mental health plays a huge role in what you're doing. That's why, as you know, any call that I start with anybody, I'm like, how you doing? Let's hold off on work. How you doing? That's first and foremost, because maybe you're not doing well and you just need to tell me, you know what, can we not talk about work today? And I'm like, fine, let's talk about whatever. Let's talk about how screwed up the world is right now, how we can't go outside. Like, fine, we can talk about that for like 15 minutes. Then the next 15 minutes we talk shop. But I think it's very important they have to definitely understand the mental health of their employees is like number one. Before they even try to think about trying to hire Black and brown people, like if they don't have any as it is, like mental health, then worry about diversifying your office. Because if your people inside your organization are suffering, you can't think about bringing in other people. You're going to bring more people to suffer with you. That doesn't make any sense. So that's my thought on that. Good question, Jad. It was long, but it was good.
I love
All right,
the
bye.
energy. Your energy is just like so contagious. Oh my God, that's so great. I had such a bad mood today in the morning, not gonna lie, but when I saw you two guys and everyone else is just like, boom.
He throws shades at me all the time. If that's the energy that you love, all right, great. But all right, Kenny.
Everyone does sit under the tree sometimes. It's okay.
It's funny. Okay, Kenny, can we ask you one more question? Are
Yeah,
you,
one more question.
please? We have
I'll take two more. I'll take
two more.
Yeah.
So we have Alyssa. Alyssa, go ahead.
Yes, hi everyone. Kenny, thank you very much for your presentation. So many, you raised so many questions that actually need to think about. Thank you. My question is, as students, we're looking for internships and we're going to be graduates next year. How can we make sure that the agencies or companies' culture corresponds to our values before we even go for an interview with them? Not to get, you mentioned your frustrating and really bad experience with the agency. How, from our side, how can we make sure that we are not going to be in the same situation?
That's pretty easy. Do your research. Do your research on that agency. Do your research also. I mean, most agencies, you know, like they'll have like a splash page of like all the work and all the clients they work on. But even look at like the clients they work on. Like make sure like that's, even if you kind of look into the future and see like, would I mind working on that client? Like I know agencies that work with the NRA. Not for me. I don't want to work there. You know, agencies that work with Border Patrol. Nope, not for me. And these are big agencies in the game right now that are working with like the NRA, or they're working with, you know, Border Patrol, or they're working with like, you know, the Juuls at the e-cigarette like kind of place, whatever. Like, so really look at like their list of clients, and sometimes all their clients that they do work on, the bad ones, they don't really list on the website. So you have to like dig a little bit deeper, but do your research on the place. And really, I always, and this is like a pet peeve of mine, but I always look at the leadership of that agency. And to be totally honest with you, I'm looking for black and brown faces, black and brown Asian faces. I'm looking for them. Women, I'm looking for them, because you can tell a whole lot from a place that has a leadership board that's literally all white, right? They'll have a leadership board that's literally all white. And then Brother Joshua will probably laugh at this. They have a leadership board that's all white, but then they're talking about Black Lives Matter. That makes no sense to me.
Ridiculous.
Right? Like literally, you look at every leader, you know, the only leaders that will be of color will be the leaders from their offices in Shanghai, in their offices in Mumbai, their offices in New Delhi. And sometimes even in those offices, and Jamie's gonna smile, sometimes the CEOs in those offices are still white. You'll see a CEO of an agency in South Africa, white, Kenya, white, Nigeria, white. Like you're like, wait, I thought Africa was a black country. Like it is insane. So it's very important that you kind of like comb through that website. But then, and if you are granted the opportunity to have that interview, hopefully the interviewer knows and is honest with you, but ask about company culture. Be like, you know, outside of this role, are there opportunities for me to develop as, whether as a woman or as whatever your background is, like find out. And hopefully they have answers. If they don't, that says a lot, right? That says a lot, because it's one thing for them to say, oh, we're doing great with female leadership. Our we have 40% female leaders in this company. Yeah, but what does that look like? Are they Latinas? Are there Black women? Are there Asian women? Like, what does that really mean? And at what level are those women? Like, are any of them like CTOs, CEOs? Are they SVPs, EVPs, directors? Like that breakdown, they should be able to tell you that, especially in these day and ages, they should be able to tell you that. But if they tell you that and all their executives are indexing 60 to 70% higher as white executives and every other background is under 10%, that's very telling. So because basically that goes to say like, there's really no representation for you maybe in that organization. And that's not aspirational. I always like to work at a place that's aspirational, or work with agencies that are aspirational, so people can kind of see themselves moving up, you know, when they get in. It has to be aspirational. But if it's not, then that may not be the place for you, because you have to really inquire about like the development, the promotion, and the hiring, right? Like, what does that look like? Are there any like goals that they have in place outside of you? Like, what do they really have in place? Because it's easy for them to write it and put it on their webpage or whatever the case may be. But like, are they actually like striving to work on it? What kind of partnerships do they have with outside entities to really make that place more diverse, if diversity is important to you? So it's very important to kind of like ask those right questions when you're in that interview. Yeah, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions, but they'll definitely give you an opportunity to ask those questions. But also, one thing I always tell people, young people, especially that are in college, I was like, read that company's manifesto, right? Read that manifesto, and it's going to say something about, you know, disruption and creative and all this other kind of blah, 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 right? But really think about what your personal manifesto is. What makes Alyssa great? What makes Alyssa different? What makes Alyssa unique? What makes Alyssa special, right? And then compare that to what they're saying in their manifesto, and see if there's some similarities there, like respect for people, you know, growing people, things of that nature, like, you know, being a fan of the arts or whatever it is. Like, really think about what they're saying in their manifesto or their mission, and like compare that. I think everyone here, you need to make your own manifesto, your own mission of what you're about and where you want your life and career to kind of go to. When you think about an organization you want to work with, it's very important that you kind of make sure that those are in line, because if you don't, and let's say you do get the job, and then you're like, wait a minute, I'm not about any of this crap. I'm not about, you know, Thirsty Thursdays, whatever the case may be. Maybe you're not about Thirsty Thursdays because your dad or your mom or someone in your family is a recovering alcoholic, right? But by having that is like kind of not really thinking about everyone. How welcoming is that agency to people with different abilities, right? Maybe people that don't have use of their arms, or people that maybe require sign language. Like, all these things are like how disability accessible is that agency for people that may be in a wheelchair. Like, there's all these things you really have to think about. Even if you don't have a disability, I'm pressing on agencies to make their websites ADA compliant, because, you know, people with disabilities, they want jobs too. So it's very important to kind of really think about the different layers of diversity and what it looks like to the agency, but also what it means to you as well. But that takes digging and asking questions. If you don't ask any questions, then they're going to sell you some magic beans, and they're going to turn out to be magic. And it's going to be like, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. So it's very, very important. And also, don't be fooled by them saying, oh, well, you know, if Lord, God forbid, you know, they say, oh, well, you know, we deal with 100 roses from concrete, and we're at Where Are the Black People, and we're at all these different things, whatever the case may be. It's easy to say you're affiliated with us, but it's another thing to say, yeah, we're affiliated with 100 Roses from Concrete and the Growth Initiative, and we hired 2 of their fellows. That's making actual change, right? So it's very important to really kind of find out, like, what are they doing? But also not even to the point of like, yeah, do I wish that these agencies would hire Olga and Gabriella? Yes, but I also want to make sure that they develop and promote them too, because if they don't, I will call them out. Because just don't like bring them to the water, but then you don't let them drink. Like, that's ridiculous, but it happens. Sad to say, it happens. So it's very important to do your research. And if there's someone remotely you think that you may want to reach out to on LinkedIn, maybe hit them up and just be like, hey, you know, I just had some questions about your agency. I see you've been there for, I don't know, 6 months to 6 years. I don't know. And maybe just try to get some more information. But sometimes, since if you're not there already, then some people can be a little standoffish. But just do your research. But also do your research in places not like LinkedIn. Go deep on Fishbowl. Go to agency spy. Find out what that tea is, girl. Find out what that tea is. And then sip it, sip it and be like, ooh, these people were actually sued, like for something really bad. Do I really want to work there? So it's very, very important to, look at Agency Spy, look at Adweek, look at Digiday. Of course, I'm only calling out magazines that I've been in, but look all them up and look for the good, but also kind of fish for the bad too. Go to Glassdoor. Glassdoor should be called Tea Door, to be totally honest with you, because there's so much tea on these organizations that it will blow your mind. It will absolutely blow your mind. So yeah, Glassdoor, Fishbowl, Agency Spy. There's a lot of places where you can find the information that you possibly can't find on their website. But sometimes it's good, and then sometimes it will literally blow your mind.
But Keni,
yeah.
You gotta anything on Agency Spy you gotta take with somewhat with a grain of salt, because Agency Spy is a place where people who are pissed off go and vent anonymously about the agency that they hate. So you gotta read it, but read between the lines of like what people are saying and see if it's like a real gripe or it's just somebody letting off steam, because there's a lot of stuff up on Agency Spy that it's people seeking revenge.
Yep.
Keni, thank you so much.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
You're very welcome.
And last but not least, hey, the last question goes to Lena. Go, girl.
Hi.
Hi, Lena.
You spoke about people of color having great power in like the buying market, and the Black Lives Matter movement, there's been this wave of supporting Black businesses. Even on Uber Eats, it's like no delivery fee if you support like a small Black business, this, that, and the third. Do you think that Black-owned businesses or businesses owned by people of color will sort of like beat out these more established companies because they have yet to be able to figure out how to dismantle their systemic racism issues and stuff?
Not for a long time. This is just my honest opinion. Not for a long time. Conceptually, I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. During my time with Jamie at JWT, we actually worked with Black Lives Matter to create a topographical map of all the Black businesses in America. But like I said, this was 3 years ago. So this is before people started caring. But it did very well at award shows and all that other stuff. But yeah, we did it like 3 years ago. Can I say like there was an uptick in people using Black businesses? Probably not. But at least we put it out there. And like, if you look it up, it's called like Backing Black Businesses. And you can find it. And it's all associated with BLM. But yeah, it's not going to be for a long time. And unfortunately, Black businesses are suffering due to coronavirus as well. So it doesn't make it just small businesses, period, are suffering due to coronavirus. Well, Black businesses in particular are definitely getting the short end of the stick. Women-owned businesses are getting the short end of the stick when it comes to coronavirus and just the economy kind of falling flat on its behind. But, we got to be hopeful. That's all I can say. We got to be hopeful and do what we can when we can, but also tell our friends to kind of help as well. We can't just do it ourselves. So between you and I, Lena, we just can't support a Black business. We got to tell our white friends to support Black business. We got to tell our Latinx friends to support Black business. We got to tell our Asian American friends to support Black business, but we have to support their businesses too. At the end of the day, right? Because small businesses, minority-owned businesses, that's actually the bread and butter of this country. So it's important that, yes, we think about Black businesses, but we also think about businesses from other disenfranchised brothers and sisters in this country. That's very, very important, because at the end of the day, all we have is us. All we have is us. These little like stupid government handouts, they're going to all the rich folks at the end of the day. It doesn't pay your lease for your, your beef patty Jamaican spot. Like, just does it. You know what I mean? Because I love Jamaican beef patties, by the way. So send them this way. So yeah, it would be great, but it's gonna some are gonna fall and rebuild, when things get better. But as I think right now, it's such a game of inches. It's not yards. And that's the part that really sucks. I wish it was a game of yards. We'd get to equality a little bit quicker, but it's a game of inches. All right.
Did it answer your question, Lena? Did, I guess. I think so. Perfect. Thank you so much, Keni. Thank you for all the tips, advice. I don't know. People have mentioned that it's just like a super inspirational podcast. And I'm super happy that everybody joined. And, you know, we really wanted to bring you to introduce to BSU and the AMA community because I think you're just amazing. So I truly do. So we are really happy that you agreed to join us today and you have shared all this. I don't know even how to pack it in my head. Would love to ask you also the question, would be okay for the people to connect with you via LinkedIn if we share your information?
Sure.
It's fine. Sure.
100roadsconcrete.com. You know the website.
I do, and Keni is, as he mentioned, he's been doing the amazing program this summer, the Growth. So follow Keni, follow what he's going to be up to, what he's going to be doing, because the program was just a gem, and it was like a virtual internship actually in an agency. So we were split into teams of 16 people, and everybody had their own role. So even, you know, I signed up for the program without any expectations because I didn't know what to expect. And what I got for the program is just like a community, family, friends, and a huge bag of knowledge and support from such amazing mentors like you are, like Jadis, Ravi, everyone from the team. So I really recommend all the students to follow Keni and, you know, stay in touch with him. Thank you so much, Keni. You're incredible. We're really happy to host you.
Nah. Thank you once again for having me. It's like I said, you know, Baruch is family. So, you know, when you all need me, just, you know, I'm not far. I mean, I live in Manhattan as it is, but, but, you know, like, it's forever. So, you know, whatever I'm doing, I'm always going to try to do my best to incorporate Baruch students and everything like that. I mean, obviously, you know, I have my family, Gabs, you know, Olga, Linda, a couple other Baruch people. Are definitely a part of the 100 Rows of Concrete family. So yeah, you know, where I go, we go, and you know, I'm here. I'm here, and we're here to, as the motto for, you know, the 100 Rows from Concrete, we're here to connect, collaborate, and grow together. That's very important. So that's what we do, and we're going to continue doing that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. You know, wash your hands. You know, love y'all like cake.
Thank you, Keni.
All right, forever.
Thank you so much, Keni.
All right, talk to y'all later.
Thank you.
Safe. Bye.
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 Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.